Okay, everyone, let's get started. This is Grant Watty, and I'm here today with my lovely partner, Christine.
Hello, everyone.
And welcome to the $1 Million Marriage, our workshop on the 5 secrets to saving your marriage, even if your partner has checked out, moved out, and you're the only one who wants to work it out. Hey, and thanks for joining us today, because no matter where your marriage is at right now, in this masterclass, you'll see exactly how you can save your marriage and how to create lasting love. And we're going to share with you the exact same strategies we've used in our own marriage and with thousands of our clients. And look, we've got around 40 minutes together, so I'm just going to jump right in. And our intention is that you'll walk away inspired with a step-by-step plan for saving your marriage and falling back in love. First up, who's this for? So this is for you, even if you're the only one wanting to save your marriage, and you're a successful business owner, a leader, or a high achiever, but your relationship is struggling. And your success in business hasn't exactly translated to your relationships. And you're in midlife and you've got older kids now, and you just want more connection, love, passion, and fun. This is definitely for you. And this is for you if you're resourceful and you're committed to taking action to transform your relationship. And I want to be upfront with you and be clear that this is not for you if you want to keep blaming your partner, or if your relationship is physically abusive, or there are any addiction problems. Look, guys, you really need to look after your safety and deal with these issues first before you are ready to create your $1 million relationship and work with us. But if you're serious about your relationship, if you're committed to taking action, then we can definitely help you.
And in the next 40 minutes, you'll discover the 5 steps to save your marriage, even if you're the only one wanting to work it out at the moment. A simple strategy to dodge the disaster of divorce, saving a ton of money and the fallout for the kids, and instead build a strong foundation that can overcome just about any challenge. Why therapy is the exact wrong approach, focused on the past and on the problems, and the new way that transforms relationships. You'll discover the only rock-solid foundation for your marriage that will restore trust, lasting closeness, and connection, and how to disengage from that vicious conflict cycle and stop walking on eggshells or sweeping things under the carpet, and instead build friendship and love. And how to create a crystal clear action plan with the exact steps to build a thriving, lifelong relationship quickly in just 8 weeks. And our promise to you is the proven strategy to create love that lasts a lifetime.
And before we go too much further, let me introduce myself and my partner, Christine. So we are known as world-leading relationship strategists. That is, we've worked with a king, we've worked with a queen, a prime minister, the governor general, top business people, right through to the most disadvantaged in life and everyone in between. Now, we're both professionally trained in couples and family therapy, and we've got complementary skills. We've worked together in business and leadership and life over more than 3 decades. And we've run a successful small business globally, and we've raised 3 children together, our greatest success, of course. And we've helped thousands of couples put an end to the fighting and coming together as a team to create rock-solid marriages. And we're not here to toot our horn, but just to tell you that the information you're getting in this masterclass is coming from real experts with proven methods and a proven track record of success in our own marriage of 33 years. You know, they're not the untested theories and opinions of untrained amateurs, marriage coaches out there. They're also not the methods of traditional counselors who typically have a shockingly low success rate of only around 20%. Our success rate is around 90%, which means that 9 out of 10 people who use our approach have a lasting positive impact on their relationship. And that just means that you can do the same too. So the success and our secret is the unique transformational approach that we use. Whereas marriage counseling, it just focuses on the symptoms of a troubled relationship. You know, often it'll talk about past hurts and ripping open old wounds and often aggravating the problems in the relationship. And this is where therapists often get this wrong. And instead, we focus on eliminating the root cause, and by dealing with the root cause, the symptoms just go away on their own. And this makes room for a real transformation of the relationship and building up the positive aspects of it. You know, the approach we use is not a pie in the sky theory. It's been tested and retested. It's worked in our relationships and with the couples we've worked with. And it'll work for you too. If you're ready to stop the fighting and bickering and to take action to transform your relationship, then this is for you.
Okay, but it wasn't always like this, and let me tell you our story. Early on, we were happily married. We met at university and we loved to run, play squash and go out together, laughing and having lots of fun. We've got 3 beautiful children and we're working together in a business and we're spending lots of time together, and people said, we're just the perfect couple. You know, the feeling of being really intimate and connected, that was us. And then every day we got busy, busy, busy. I'm sure you can relate to this. Running a business, traveling overseas with the kids, with everything else, busy, busy, busy. And one day the pressures just reached crisis point. I don't know exactly how it happened, but it was like an early midlife crisis of sorts. And my question to you here today that's brought you to this masterclass is, what about you? You know, your situation is probably different but similar in some ways. What was it? How did you lose each other? Was it an affair? Was it neglect? Or maybe you just can't understand why things aren't the same anymore. And we find that's really common too. The interesting thing in our experience was, you know, really every cloud does have a silver lining. And because of our crisis, a great mentor shared with us, this doesn't have to be the end. Now, this was a paradigm shift for me. It was a bolt out of the blue because I thought that a crisis meant that this relationship was over. And because of our mentor, I reflected on what Grant and I had had in the early days, and it was pretty special. So what I did was make the choice to be 100% committed to the relationship again and see what happened. Well, what happened was Grant and I reconnected again, and then we actually chose a complete about turn in our careers. We retrained, we sold our business, and we recreated a whole new life based on what we were both really passionate about. Let me tell you, it was a long road. And now at this point in the road, we finally know what works. It's worked for us in our relationship. It works for our clients. And the good news for you today is that it can work for you too if you follow these 5 simple steps that we're about to share with you. Look, what took us years and years, you can achieve in just 8 weeks. And this is what we know, this is what we do, and we absolutely want this for you too. So look, listen up, and over to you, Grant.
Thanks, Chris. So let me check in with you where you're at right now. So does this sound like you? Do you want to save your marriage, but right now your partner is completely checked out and it just seems hopeless and you just don't know where to start? And once you were the perfect couple, but now your partner says, I'm not in love with you anymore, and you dread the thought of divorce, the costs of splitting all the assets and how it will really hurt the kids. And do you lie awake at night with this huge knot in your stomach, feeling angry, and maybe you're feeling anxious and afraid and betrayed by your partner, wondering if it's even possible to fix your marriage? And maybe you are more like roommates than a married couple. Even when you're sleeping in the same bed, you just feel a million miles apart. Intimacy and sex, well, they're just a distant memory now. And maybe you're just plain tired of the fighting and the bickering and the coming home at the end of the day. And you miss the warm, cozy evenings, the fun and the friendship that you used to enjoy together. And something has to change, but you just don't know what to do. You've tried everything, you're stuck. You've tried talking to friends. You've Googled it, you've read blogs, you've read books, you've even done therapy, but none of it has worked. And you just feel isolated and alone, and you long for things to be different. And the big question I have for you was, once your happy marriage unraveling into icy cold silence, and now you're just feeling lonely and stuck, but you wonder how to fix your relationship, and you wonder, is it even possible?
And this is the good news. These are not the real problem. These are just the symptoms. And most people try and fix the symptoms, but really that is just like putting a Band-Aid on. The real problem is that you're missing the shifts. And these shifts that we're about to share with you really get to the root cause that can transform your relationship. And the one thing that you need to know is that once you make these shifts, you'll have a marriage where you enjoy friendship, connection, and trust again with your partner, where you both feel safe to share your inner thoughts and feelings. You'll create a crystal clear action plan with the exact steps to build a thriving relationship in as little as 8 weeks. And you'll realize that by focusing on your problems is exactly the wrong strategy to save your marriage. And the counterintuitive secret is to initially set these problems aside and focus instead on the positive things, the positive actions that you can take to rebuild your relationship. You'll have a new bounce in your step, and you'll notice more energy and better performance at work and in all areas of life. You know, it's just amazing how when your marriage is flourishing, then so is every area of your life. And you'll do all this while disengaging from conflict, dodging divorce, saving thousands in legal fees and splitting the assets, while instead building an unshakable foundation of love.
Okay, so let's have a look at how we discovered these shifts. Well, we looked at our own relationship first up, and then we drew on all of our professional training and the cutting edge research out there. But most importantly, the work that we had done with thousands of couples, and we noticed that some couples just seem to struggle and they stay stuck in their problems, while others use these issues as an opportunity to grow stronger. So we asked ourselves, what's the difference between those that transformed and changed and those that stood stuck and struggling? And often they would have similar challenges. And when we looked at the strategies that we'd applied to our own relationship and the couples we worked with, we noticed what worked. So we literally cracked the code. We discovered that there are 5 shifts that thriving couples make to transform their relationships really, really fast. So there's only one thing you need to know, that there are 5 key shifts you must make to save your marriage and overcome any challenges to create lasting love by applying these shifts. And we're going to walk you through all of them on this session. So are you ready?
Great. And this brings us now to shift number 1, to live with integrity. And let me tell you that in our experience, integrity is the only foundation that works. And that's not just in marriages, that's in every relationship, and that's in life in general. And so integrity is the foundation of everything that Grant and I do. And we want the very best for you and your marriage. So all our work is based on this principle of integrity, because this is what works. This is the foundation of extraordinary marriages. But you might be wondering, what do we mean by integrity? Well, integrity can be defined as being integrated, being whole and complete. And using the metaphor of a house, your relationship's whole and complete when the walls, the floor, and the ceiling of the house are all intact. They're as they're supposed to be. But if you take out even just one wall, then what's going to happen? The house is going to tumble, isn't it? And the house does not have integrity. Put it back, and the building has integrity again. And it's exactly the same with your relationship. And the good news here is that no matter how broken your marriage is, it can be repaired when integrity is restored. And let me show you this visually. You have relationship integrity when your words and commitments there on the left-hand side are in line with your actions there on the right-hand side. In other words, they are whole and complete, and they match. What you say, what you commit to, is what you do. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But let me tell you, there's a really strong link between integrity and these 2 powerful emotions, trust and betrayal. Trust when you're in integrity, and betrayal when you're out of it. And betrayal is the biggest factor leading to divorce. And we're not talking here about just affairs, but betrayal, any deception, any betrayal of trust and commitment. And betrayal can only happen when your relationship's lacking integrity, because it's when you're not doing what you say you do, when you're not being committed to what you say you're committed to. There's a lack of integrity. And most couples, when they come to us, we'll ask them the question, is there integrity in your relationship? And most people will say, yep, absolutely. But for many, they discover this just isn't so. So I want to share with you our example.
Okay, so in the early days, like many of you, I was really focused on my career, and I'd say to Chris, look, tonight I've got a work to do, and I'll be home around 7 o'clock. Is that okay? And normally I'd be home at about 5 o'clock, and she'd say, yeah, that's fine. And so I'd go to the do, and I'd have a few drinks or something, and I'd be talking to my boss, and then 7 o'clock would come and go. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is really important for my career. It's for the family. Chris will just understand it. And eventually I'd get home at 8 or 9 or 10. And what I didn't really understand was the impact for Chris. I'd promised my word was I'd be home by 7. And yet when it wasn't possible for me to be home by 7 for whatever reason, I didn't have any way of restoring my integrity. I didn't understand that distinction. And I certainly didn't understand the impact on Chris on this. So what was the impact for you, Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Grant. And so, yes, I did get it. We were focused on the same goals. But here's the thing, the impact was when you're out of integrity, when what Grant said was not what he did, was that I couldn't count on him. And, my response, sometimes I'd be really annoyed. Other times I'd just make my own independent plans. And the impact is that it slowly eats away at trust. It slowly eats away in the relationship. And the good news here with integrity is when Grant and I learned this shift, we now have experienced an amazing feeling of freedom in our relationship. Now I know that when Grant says he's going to do something, he'll do it or he'll let me know. And I do the same for him. And this is why we say that integrity is the only foundation that really works, because integrity builds trust, and trust has the power to transform relationships. So taking this further, the thing is you can't restore somebody else's integrity. You have to start with yourself. And the first step to saving your marriage is to start rebuilding your integrity by making sure that your words and commitments are in line with your actions. So now I want to pause for a moment and ask you to be totally honest and think about your own integrity with your partner. How do your words and your commitments line up with your actions? And it's just the small things. You might think, well, it's only a little thing being a little bit late. But integrity is a bit like being pregnant, actually. You either are or you aren't. There's no in between. So rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is, there's a lot of room for improvement, and 10 is, you can say with certainty that you do what you say you do. Now, let me tell you, as you're rating this yourself, that anything less than 10 is a foundation that you can work on to build trust, build integrity, and build a relationship that has the power to totally transform.
Okay, so the next shift is to take the first step with 100% responsibility. The common myth is that both partners need to be committed to saving a marriage. And while this seems to make sense, it's exactly the wrong approach to take, because someone must go first and someone must choose to take 100% responsibility, like Chris did in our early relationship. Thank goodness. Thanks, Chris. The problem is that if you're both keeping score and each of you are responsible for 50%, then as soon as something goes wrong, most couples point the finger at their partner, blame them, and try to change them. Like earlier on, I'd say to Chris, well, hey, just stop nagging me, stop criticizing me. And then Chris would say,
but you said you'd be home by 6.
And then it would just, and then I would respond to that, and it just didn't work. It just kept on going on and on.
And it's kind of like a tug of war. And in a tug of war, you're right, your partner's wrong, and you just lose sight of any other options. When you choose to take that first step, to be the one to go first and let go of the rope, then you can shift your focus to solutions. And most couples, even therapists, get this dead wrong. They start thinking that both of you need to work on conflict resolution or on communication strategies and the like. This hardly ever works. The key here is you choose to make the first step. You choose to take 100% responsibility.
So this brings us to our first case study, which is a really good example. And here's an example of Jennifer and John. So Jennifer told me that she had been through hell and back when I was talking to her. She had had a failed business, that had a daughter with anorexia, and she was the only one that was working with her. John didn't want anything to do with it. And then she just got health problems. And John, while all this was going on, he just avoided the problems. He went out playing golf, and then Jenny felt betrayed, and so there was no intimacy. And so then he started these emotional affairs, texting other women. And then, so eventually they just agreed to have time living apart in separate houses. And this just made things worse. That was not a good idea, guys. So the other problem was that John insisted that they both make changes. If you stop criticizing me, Jenny, then I'll communicate more. I'll come forward and talk to you more. And this just didn't work. They just got stuck in this gridlock until Jenny made this key shift, and she decided, that she was going to take the first step. So she just literally stopped the criticism, and instead she focused not on the problems, but she focused on working on building the relationship first. And so they went out on dates, they went traveling together, and then they really built a strong connection, which opened the way for John to change.
Thanks, Grant. And so now you have the first shift being an integrity, that your words and your actions match, and you've decided that you're going to take the first step because you're the one listening to this. So this brings us to our third shift that we call Beware the Tiger and the Turtle, the patterns of connection and conflict. And I can say with certainty that having been married for 33 years now, and nearly 34 actually, and working with so many couples, that you really need to understand this tiger turtle pattern, because this is something that trips up just so many couples. And the myth out there is that you've fallen out of love now that you've struck some challenges in your relationship, you've fallen out of love, or maybe you just haven't even met your soulmate yet. The real problem is that one partner is almost always like a turtle and the other one is like a tiger, and neither of you understand how this pattern affects your relationship. And the very same qualities that connected you in the early days that brought you together are now at the heart of your conflict. And unresolved tiger-turtle patterns are behind many, many struggling marriages. So I just want to ask you, do you recognise any of these in your relationship? One of you pursues the other, trying to resolve things, sort them out. And often that's with criticism and blame. Of course, you recognise the tiger. The other partner becomes defensive, stonewalls, and withdraws into their shell. Of course, that's the turtle. The key to solving this is for couples to become aware of this conflict cycle, to break it without blaming or criticising each other, and to instead rebuild friendship, intimacy, and connection. So let me share with you our case study. And so in the early days, this is before we knew all this tiger-turtle shift, Grant, being the turtle, goes into his shell when there's an issue, and he doesn't say anything. How do you think I respond? As the tiger, I pursue, I want to sort it out, and I want to resolve things. So then...
Yeah, so I shut down even further when this happens, and then I kind of become passive-aggressive. It's not an outward anger, it's an inner anger. And that just means I withdraw, I stonewall, and I'm just not present anymore.
And so, of course, then I become even more frustrated. I start nagging and become critical.
And then I shut down even further, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
So you can see this vicious cycle at work. And that's why I've got that up there at the top there. And I want you to think about you and your partner at this point. Can you see this vicious cycle at work in your relationship? And my question now is, how good are you right now at managing these patterns, at stopping the arguments? And again, I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And again, be honest, because that's the way that you can see where you can make these little improvements that can make huge shifts in your relationships. So 1 is you're not, you don't manage these at all. 10 is you probably again wouldn't be on this webinar. And recognizing and stopping this pattern opens up the way for the very next shift, and that's where we can listen deeply and connect with our partner. So over to you now, Grant.
Okay, so the next shift is the bridge from me to we. And most couples at this stage, after understanding shifts 1, 2, and 3, they ask us, how do I build intimacy now with my partner when they're checked out? How does Chris build intimacy with me when I'm checked out as a turtle? And the key is in this shift.
So in this shift we go from me to we. And in relationships, you've probably heard the myth that men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Well, the truth is that every human being lives in their own separate world. We're like aliens living on our own planets. And each of us sees the world through our own lens, and we assume that our partner understands or should understand our world. Doesn't my way make sense? It's the right way. It's all about me, as Garfield would say. The truth is that to save your marriage, you need to create a bridge into your partner's world. You must move from a me world to a we world and cross the bridge to discover what's in the world. And in a modern world, we're mostly raised to live in a me world, and that's especially in the Western world. You can see the me and the you. But have you noticed how really close couples talk about we a lot? They make decisions and they plan holidays together. They talk to their friends in the context of we think this and we do that. But couples that struggle to be close, they're always talking about me or you. You don't care about me. There is no we. And the secret here is turning this me and this you into we. But how do you cross this bridge? You cross this bridge like that cyclist when you leave your own side of the bridge, your own world behind, and you choose to really listen to your partner. When you get this wrong, you filter everything through the lens of your world, and you just don't get what your partner's really saying. When you get this right, there's absolutely no filter, nothing between you and what your partner's communicating to you. You know that feeling of flow, of just total connection, you're totally in the same place. This is what you get. It's so simple, but the caution here is it doesn't mean easy. And by crossing this bridge, by crossing the bridge into your partner's world, you build a powerful new connection. You create a we world.
Sam and Nicole is a really good example of this. When they came to see us, they sat at opposite ends of the couch. You know, they just didn't talk to each other at all. And especially when Sam got home from work. You know, he'd be furious because Nicole just didn't seem to do anything around the house, and she'd often, and he'd often stomp around and tell her that, you know, she'd left all the lights on and she'd left stuff lying around the house. And Nicole did this because as a child, she just literally walked on eggshells, having to be tidy, and all she wanted was to be free in her own house to have things in a mess. And as you can imagine, this just didn't work at all for them. You know, so Sam and Nicole, here they are, they're totally disconnected. And then Sam took the first step and he crossed the bridge and he listened deeply to Nicole. And he really got her, he really understood what was going on for her. And then when Nicole saw this, when she saw Sam engage with her, this really sparked the way and rekindled a new emotional connection. And then they both committed to what seemed like these small changes. But these small changes are what transform relationships. You know, Sam helped Nicole find her own career, and then she committed to turning the lights off. And this just transformed everything and transformed their marriage from the brink of financial collapse and divorce into a thriving relationship in as little as 4 weeks' time.
Great. So now you have relationship integrity. You take the first step, you get the tiger turtle pattern. You know you need to cross the bridge. Now here's the final crucial shift. Invest in mentoring. Because now, while you know all this information, to really transform your relationship, you need to have someone there to help you, because there are just so many traps that will trip you up. And while it seems really simple, it's not that easy. And what you need is a guide who can model what a successful marriage looks like. And Grant and I just wish we'd had a mentor when we first struck white water in our marriage. It would have been so much easier if we'd had support from someone who was wise, who could help us navigate the complexities of being married, running a business together, raising children together, rather than having to figure it all out on our own, or getting unhelpful advice from exactly the wrong people, like friends and family and therapists, or even church pastors who just weren't experts on these issues. It's a bit like going to the GP if you need heart surgery. If you're dying, you need the world's best to help you. And it's the same with your marriage. If your marriage is important to you, you value it. If your relationship's on life support, you need the help from the very best, surely. So what's the value to you of a happy, satisfying relationship, of a marriage of lasting love. I just want you to pause for a moment and think, what is the value of getting this right? And many of the people that we work with, and Grant and I would agree with this, it's priceless. It's at the center of who we are as human beings, to be in connection, to be really able to enjoy that intimacy together with people that are special. But way too often, great marriage wasn't role modeled by our parents. And even if our parents were great role models, your partner didn't come with a handbook. And many people make the mistake of a cross your fingers and hope approach, or talking to the exact wrong people. That's a bit like going to climb Mount Everest without a Sherpa. You just wouldn't do it. With something as valuable as your marriage, why risk losing it? And Grant and I are advocates that everybody should have a mentor. And a good marriage mentor, how will they help you? They'll give you good ideas and make sure that you act on them. And from our experience, it's not the information that makes the transformation, it's the action. And that's why the action here is so key. A great mentor will combine successful relationship experience of their own with a proven dynamic approach and the latest cutting edge research. And every month, we have couples completely turning their relationships around to create lasting love. I say to you, and Grant says to you, get the best mentor that you can find.
Absolutely. Okay, I love working with guys like Greg. Greg was the co-founder of a very successful technology company, but his success in business hadn't exactly translated to his relationships because he'd had 3 failed relationships. He'd had everything money could buy except relationship success. And now he was in his 4th relationship. He'd finally woken up and decided that maybe it was time to do things differently. It was time to take a look at himself. Now Greg is absolutely typical of the statistics that over 50% of first marriages fail, but then the stakes go up on their second and third marriages because, guess what? Greg was a common denominator and he hadn't really changed. But he had tried everything. He'd tried marriage counseling with all his past wives. He'd read all the books. He'd done multiple courses, and still nothing had changed because he hadn't had the right mentoring. He didn't know what a good model of a relationship was like. And with mentoring, he was able to recognize his pattern of behavior that led to success in business wasn't appropriate in relationships, and it took a bit of challenging of Greg. It was no good just sitting there listening to him or listening to all the problems. Greg had to be challenged, and he needed an outside view, and he needed someone who could understand all of the issues he was facing, and to be able to integrate his business life with his personal life. And with mentoring in over 3 months, he could transform those behaviors and create new habits. It was simple, but it wasn't easy. And then he developed lasting love in his life finally.
Great. And so now you have it. We've shared with you the 5 shifts. So now I'm going to introduce you to the biggest relationship pitfalls. And I think you'll see that these are close relations of the shifts. So the first pitfall is that your foundation isn't built on integrity. You say that you value your marriage, but your words and your actions just don't match. Second pitfall, you're waiting for your partner so you can fix your marriage together. You don't have to wait. We love working with one client when one person comes in, and so you choose 100% responsibility and take that first step. Third one, having a problem focus. This is the glass half empty, and it's a huge mistake. It will only make matters worse. You need to set aside your problems initially and focus on making that connection. The tiger-turtle conflict pattern. You engage in conflict completely unaware of the hidden tiger-turtle pattern that destroys marriages as surely as a tornado. Focusing simply on yourself. You need to go from a me to a we by building a bridge into your partner's world. And going it alone. You don't have to, and neither should you. You need help from a great mentor with the skills and the experience to help you fast track a loving, lasting marriage. But you won't fall into these pitfalls yourself because you have the shifts.
Okay, so today we promised you would discover the 5 steps to save your marriage, even if you're the only one wanting to work it out. We said we'd go through a simple strategy to dodge the disaster of divorce and why therapy is the exact wrong approach, focusing on the past problems and the new way that transforms relationships. The only rock solid foundation for your marriage that will restore trust and lasting closeness. And we promised how to disengage from the vicious conflict cycle and instead build friendship and love, and how to create a crystal clear action plan with the exact steps to build a thriving lifelong relationship quickly. So how are we going? And the big promise was the proven strategy to create lasting love.
So, what you need to win, the 5-step game plan to save your marriage and create lasting love. And here you have the shifts, with integrity, the foundation, right smack bang in the middle, followed by at the top there, you take the first step and make 100% responsibility. You're aware of and you manage the tiger turtle patterns of conflict. You choose to cross the bridge, go from a me to a we world, and then the final crucial shift, you engage with a great mentor. And I want to say to you that if you take away even one of these shifts, then you'll most likely not make it. And that's why we say mentoring is probably the most important, because a mentor will help keep you on track. And you're on this session, I'm guessing, because there's areas in your relationship that you're wanting to flourish more strongly than they are right now. And let me tell you that these 5 shifts are our recipe for success. They're definitely the secrets to the flourishing and longevity of our own 36-year partnership, and the secrets that we've shared with our clients to create lasting love in their relationships. Look, we'd love to help you. It's what we're really good at, and it's one of those things in our life that really gives us true satisfaction when we see a couple wipe the slate clean, start afresh, and get back to really enjoying each other. So don't wait.
Okay, so now you've got a choice. You can stay stuck and frustrated in an unhappy marriage, or you can take action to save your relationship and create lasting love. So do you want to have a marriage where you feel trust, love, friendship, and be 100% connected with your partner? If you say yes, then we can help you. Okay, so how can we help? Well, we've set aside some time over the next week to speak with you personally about how you can apply these ideas. You know, the process transforms relationships, and it can really change yours too. So it's time to realize you can make a difference on your own, and all it takes is for you to take that first step in courage and with faith, and we're here to help, and it'll change everything. Okay, so we've got to get on the phone with you, and first we'll ask you a few questions to work out if or how we can help you, and if we can't, we'll let you know very politely and try and point you in the right direction. And if we feel we can help, then we'll just take the next step and talk about how, and then we'll just get you crystal clear on 3 things, exactly what your key challenges are, a crystal clear vision for saving your marriage and creating lasting love, and a specific customized strategy for action with the exact steps you need to get started.
This isn't for everyone. Here's who this is for. Most of the people that we work with are successful business owners or professionals, and everyone that we work with is absolutely committed to saving their marriage. So this is for you if you're a successful business owner willing to commit the time, focus, and money to save your marriage and ready to take action. You're willing and able to take the first step, and you can make the decision on your own. You know, it's no good if you're waiting for your partner. You need to be able to make that decision on your own.
Okay, so here's why we're doing this. So our mission is to transform relationships and create lasting love. This is what we do every day. And if you want us to help you, and if we think it's a good fit, then we may invite you to become one of the new clients we'll take on this month. We'll get on the call with you, and it'll be absolutely the best action you can take to work on your relationship. I can promise you that.
And look, today we've shared with you the 5 secrets to create lasting love in your marriage that we've used with many, many couples just like you. And we can help make this happen for you too. And this is what we do every day.
So I'm Grant Watty.
And I'm Chris Watty. And thanks for joining us on our masterclass today. Speak with you soon.
Speak with you soon.